Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's edition of the Scotchable Podcast. No, Petty and Ill-Informed Podcast. My brain is not working.
That's what you get. It's like instant karma for being a dick.
Where I have just thoroughly trashed Niki in the art of being a devious bastard.
Well,
Joining me for the first time in weeks, Kevin. How are you?
I'm doing all right, mate. I'm actually planning on being in London next week. I find a great Airbnb. Have you ever heard of it? Airbnb.
Airbnb, yeah.
Yeah, I've rented a place and it's available in London now. It's called Number 10 Downing Street.
Very good.
Apparently, you can rent it by 44 days in a row.
Nice. That is good.
There you go,
That's
man. There's
humor.
your friendly Irish mate that's going to say, yes, why wouldn't we want to be part of Great Britain, the best government in the world, mate?
The best.
Totally stable.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with nothing to see here.
Nope.
We're going to get into the politics right away.
Immediately.
Listen. I've been gone for 3 weeks, and that was just a bit of a ribbon. Anybody that knows me from Northern Ireland knows that I'm British to the core, right? But I'm just saying, from the standpoint of that, everybody likes to be a wee bit superior whenever they're saying, oh, you live in America? What's it like living in that shite? And that's all I'm saying, Nightbag. If you have said that to me and you're living in Britain right now,
ha 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 ha.
Yeah, turnabout's fair play. That's all I'm saying.
45 days. It's beautiful.
All right. So what else is going on there, Richard?
For me, not a lot. I had a Papa John's pizza for the first time today in ages.
You did?
Next week, we're making our annual pilgrimage to KFC to remind ourselves why we never go there.
Yeah, the shits.
Yeah, you really want a diarrhea.
The explosive diarrhea, the colonic disaster.
Right.
That's why you go. It's the same reason why you go to Taco Bell.
Right.
Because there's nothing good about KFC. Well, there's one thing that's good about KFC. The drink's always flat, the fries are always soggy, the chicken meat's always like water. But the skin around the chicken is the only decent thing about KFC.
Well, sometimes you get lucky and there's a KFC next to a Taco Bell in America.
Oh, yeah, or they're in the same building.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
They got them in the same building. You just walk in.
You can order some chicken and some burritos at the same time.
Just in case you hate yourself. Oh, jeez, Richard.
There's Richard moving around that microphone.
Yeah.
So before the show started, we said to Richard, that sounds perfect there, mate. Just leave it there. Don't move it. Don't move it an inch because that sounds perfect. And then, of course, he says, what was it that he said? It was like, oh, we've got a very, very short time for me to fix this microphone.
Yeah. And then he's like, fuck you. I do what I want.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
What happened?
That's not bad. Not bad at all, mate.
What happened was the mic fell off its stand, so...
Right.
Sure. It's because of all the fapping you're doing while trying to do the show.
Yeah, faffing.
So,
Mike faffing.
Yeah. we're talking about two completely different things right now, and I'm here for it. Yes, Kevin, a lot of fapping.
What does your fapping mean?
Who, me?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I just faffing about means just like arson about.
Oh, faffing. I said fapping.
Okay. No, tonight, anytime Nikki says something silly, I'm going to use a jerky face pick.
Don't.
So, there we go.
I don't know. I don't know. What you guys are doing. I'm just a wee boy from the village. I know nothing.
You're just a wee boy from the village.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously things are not going well in the UK politically right now. We elected an idiot. He got fired. We put another idiot in charge. She got fired. And now we're thinking about putting the idiot we had in charge in the first place back in charge.
Well, I think that is literally, like you don't get washed. I mean, here's the thing, right? You got rid. Boris had to leave because of his scandals, right? Every week he was getting charged. He'd lied about this, he'd lied about that, and I am unaware of the fact that in England, if you pass through the door of a government building, that you're when you quit, that wipes you away of all things that have happened. It's like, what is that like? It's like being baptized, and then whenever so somebody else comes in for 44 days, and now you can come back in and you're clean as a whistle again.
What
Is
a
that how it
dipshit.
goes?
That's
Is
how
it,
it goes.
is it like being a born again Tory?
Yeah.
Who baptized
All
him?
it, he got fired and forgave all his own sins.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay,
Hasn't
that's right.
forgiven us for ours yet, but he forgave all his own sins. So he's halfway to being born again.
Born again Boris for Prime Minister. I think
Wow.
I think that if you could put that on a T-shirt, you could make some money, man. I really do. Born again, Boris.
Born again, Bob.
Born again, Boris.
Halfway to being the next Jesus.
Wow.
I mean, I understand. No, and believe me, I would get it if it was like, some kind of a situation where, okay, like Winston Churchill's like the prime minister, and then he gets kicked out, and somebody else comes in, and they're like, oh, this person's shite. Let's get Winston back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when you've left and
in shame,
yeah,
and then all of a sudden, 44. I mean, that
44
is
days later, they're like, well, wait,
there
maybe
is-
we want you
yeah.
back.
That I guess that's the thing that I was surprised. You know what I mean? When I was young, and I thought of that because I'm young. I'm older than you guys. But when I was young, like you hung your head in shame for at least, like whenever you, your family member had died or something like that or whatever, you went into like mourning for a year, and you wore black clothes and all that. If you'd done something wrong, you kept your head low for a year or whatever. Apparently now we've digressed to the point where if you do something controversial and you get kicked out, 44 days is enough.
That's right.
That's all you need to worry about.
Wasn't Queen Victoria in mourning for 44 years or something? Or 40
Yeah.
years?
No, she wore that for forever. But listen, we all know Queen Victoria at the end of it, was,
Not all there.
well, yeah, I mean, she loved Prince Albert, and so she never, that was the love of his life and all that stuff, and she never got over it. But I'm not holding that against anybody, but I'm just saying from the standpoint of that, the time. I mean, it's like, yeah, that's it. So that's what I'm saying. We live in a shameless time anymore. That's what I'm saying. I guess that's what it is. Like, there's no shame anymore. There's no shame. It doesn't matter.
Being raised Catholic, that's like a big deal for you.
Yeah.
There must be shame.
Right. There has to be shame. And the fact that there is no shame makes it really incredibly hard. But I just don't know how to function in a world without shame. Like, it's like if politicians.
We live in a world without shame. Kevin.
Well, no, I understand.
If something happens that's shameful, then you just victim blame. You make it the other person's fault. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, you don't take responsibility for.
You not think that that's? I mean, like nobody gave me the memo. You know what I mean? It's like nobody said to me like, you don't have to feel sorry about that shit anymore. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, why is it that I'm 50 years old and I'm racked with guilt about what happened when I was 10? You know what I mean?
Anxiety.
When clearly I shouldn't be worried about what happened 44 days ago.
That's true.
And even if you did it, you just have to not be ashamed of it. That's my point. I mean, the point of the matter of it is even if you did it anymore, you're not even ashamed of it because that's the way that goes, right? It's like, yeah, fuck it. I mean, so Boris Johnson's on vacation in the Caribbean. He's ready to come back. Is he already way back already?
I would imagine so. I mean, he's got 90% of the vote, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So
I bet he
can't believe that.
He was packing his bags immediately as soon as he heard. He's like, oh, yeah.
Did you think he probably still has the spare keys to the back door? They could get in through the cat flap.
He ain't fitting through a cat flap.
Maybe a cow flap.
Oh well, I mean,
That's what I call my
I don't think.
vagina.
And as much as I mean, here's the thing, right? And as much as Boris would want the power, because that's what it's all about. As much as he wants the power, this is irreparably going to damage the standing of England in the world. I would think. Maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't. But the very fact that they have to kick the guy out and he's back in 44 days later because he's the best choice because you won't let us have a general election means that means that you are literally. I mean, people have said, okay, yeah, the American system is really corrupt and everybody's corrupt. Well, at least you don't have a system where a guy can leave in disgrace and 44 days later he's wiped of all sin, back in the door,
Yeah,
and everybody's psyched and ready for him
true.
to go.
But we do have a guy who can do whatever he wants to and be disgraced, and yet, we're not going to indict him because he used to be a president.
Oh no, yeah, no. I mean, well, yeah, we all know about that. But I think the reason for that is not necessarily because the narrative is there that he was robbed. You know what I mean? We all know he wasn't robbed. Like, and especially if you were in government, they know. Like everybody that's running for government right now who says I'm an election denier and all this shit they all fucking know. Believe me, they all know.
Right.
That nothing was stolen from anybody. They all know that. But while there's 33% of Republicans that are and totally in agreement with it, lockstep, that's what it is, they're all going to say it. You know what I mean?
All right, SoFlo from the chat says at least your leaders resign, as don't.
That's true. Yeah.
On the other hand, not really, because Boris is coming back after 44 days, so you could argue that was just a holiday.
And Boris didn't leave government.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not like he went back into the general parliament. He didn't like leave.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he was out of a job. And that's my point. And that's not. He wasn't prime minister anymore, but that's the thing. And again, it's a situation of trying to figure out. I'm not saying one's better than the other, system's better than the other, but it is set up in a way that once you're in, and once you're out, you're out. So that's But again, you can make the case that the British government is made up of a very, very small group of people who all went to college together. You know what I mean? Like, how many people that are in like leadership positions in the British government all went to Cambridge together at the same time? Like 20 or 30 of them. It's like there was like that year where they all went through. I don't know. But like I said, they'll just play it out. And what I find interesting about the elections in America currently is that like the things that people are voting for, the politicians have any say over, right? Like the price of gas is not anything realistically for a long period of time any politician could do anything about. Right. Because
we can't convince people of that.
Yeah. Because we don't say, the government doesn't set prices. You can say, okay, this is what it is. You can open this up and you can open that up. You can take this out of the strategic reserve or whatever, but nobody can go. Because we live in like I said, non-socialist capitalistic environment. Yeah. Nobody can go to them and say, you need to put gas at like $3 a gallon.
Right.
Even though for whatever reason, if you really do a lot of research into who gets a lot of energy credits and tax credits and money from the government for all kinds of stuff for gas and oil exploration, it's funny to me that we can't say to them, go ahead and lower the price again because you're raping us. But other than that, that's it. So that's the first thing. So the two things that the Republicans are pounding on Democrats for is the price of gas or inflation, which nobody can do anything about, really, because again,
Yeah.
we live in a capitalist society, and crime. Well, the next time I see Marjorie Taylor Greene beating on somebody committed
Right.
crime, the next time a congressman or senator shows up, well, no, that one guy, Herschel Walker, he's got a little badge, doesn't he? You can say.
Oh, jeez. Don't get me started on Herschel Walker, man.
No, but he's got a badge at least. So those are the two things. So I look at it like this. So if they get in, the price a gallon before the election, it'll be $7 or whatever a gallon, and then after the election, it'll be $7 a gallon, or whatever, and we'll be jammed up on the idea that the whole purpose of government is to not work.
Right.
Like we basically should have 2 years of government where nothing could possibly pass, regardless of whether any of us wanted to or not.
Yeah.
That's always a good feeling. That's always a good feeling. But anyway.
Girl Gabby's obviously suffering from relationship issues in the chat there.
Aw, no, Gabs.
She's not doing okay.
I wouldn't say that anybody who is in favor of monogamy is right for you, Gabby. Honestly,
I would agree with that. Yeah.
In favor of it?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to find. I mean, hey, listen. I look at it like this: there's an ass for every seat, and sometimes it's not your ass.
And one of those seats is on your lap, right?
Yeah, and sometimes you need more than one ass on your plate, I guess, or vice versa.
As far as telling your friend that her boyfriend was hitting on you, I'll defer to Nikki on that one because I'm about as subtle as a sledgehammer. How would you
do it?
Don't do it? Seriously?
Well, okay, here's the thing. They shoot the messenger, right? So...
Oh, yeah.
So if you're like, your man was hitting on me, all he has to do is be like, no, baby, then you just lost a friend because, some douchebag.
A guy's standard move is she's crazy, right?
Right.
And so
exactly.
that is the first thing that'll happen. A man will always attack a woman's sanity when it comes down to things about love. If it's about love or sex,
but
she's crazy.
Women are pretty nuts, Kevin.
Well, yeah, but you see what I'm saying? I mean, we all joke about it like that. You see what I'm saying? That fits into it. That's exactly.
Oh, she's not your friends? I mean, it depends.
Oh.
You could be
well,
one
if she's
of those
not your friend, then what do you want to know?
Yeah,
just tell her.
Tell her. Just message her on Facebook if you don't want to do it face to face.
Be like, bitch, your man was hitting on me.
Yeah, and if you got screen caps, send a screen cap.
Yeah. What's your man got to do with me? I got a man.
Right.
Or something.
And yeah.
Positive K from back in the day there.
Begging you. Begging's not a good look on anyone, You make a play, and if you get shut down, you move on. I mean, everyone knows that.
Yeah, you don't want to come from that position. I mean, I don't know. Does that work? I mean, it seems to me like you go through that position, and then
no, it doesn't, and then they become incels.
I think that the old pity fuck is probably one of those things that I think has never worked out, but it does work in films.
Have you ever read one of those pickup books for men to pick up women in bars?
Have I?
And basically, yeah. Have you ever read one of those books?
I think so. I used to watch that show, The Pickup Artist. Because
basically, it's a numbers game.
Yeah.
If you ask enough people, eventually someone's going to say yes.
Oh yeah, no. I'm a firm believer in that. I mean, I'm a statistics major. I know that for a fact. You just have to ask enough people. But I'm just saying that there was somebody in my family who apparently was watching the program and then bought the whole season of it. I'm not saying anything about that, Sam, but somebody did apparently watch that program.
Nice.
I'm outing her.
That's fine. We all love Sam. She can do no wrong.
Well, you know, obviously she needs to know how to pick up chicks.
She does.
Yeah.
I can help her.
Kevin, do you really have a problem with that? Seriously?
No comment. I think what she was trying to do was I think she was watching it because of the fact that you know, I think it's like a morbid curiosity with what, you know, whenever it is, it's like, what if you were to watch a program about what girls think men think, Richard, that you'd think that was interesting, right? What do girls think men think is sexy, for example?
No.
You know, or whatever.
I don't need to know what generic women that find sexy. I only care about women I fancy find sexy.
Yeah, but that's kind of going along with that idea of what we were talking about before the program, where it was a question of, you know, I said
how terrible Nikki looked in that.
No, but it was a question of, dear Penthouse Forum, I never thought this would happen, and then we came to the realization that Nikki would always know what was happening because she's the determination of what's going to happen, and we're just along for the ride.
That's not always true. I mean, in scary situations. But
it probably is if you're reading Penthouse Forum, though.
Yeah, if you're reading Penthouse Forum, it's all under my control.
You're not doing that because you're out slaying it on a Saturday night.
I find it interesting. I understand what you're saying, Kevin. I find it interesting what men think of women and what they think works. Like the whole negging thing. Like, sure, if you want an insecure woman who you can abuse and treat like crap, absolutely neg her. And if she's all about it, then
that's the hallmark of a steady, stable relationship.
It's kind of that whole idea that women can't think for themselves idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you know,
they need a man to take care of it for them.
I mean, definitely the person who should make the healthcare decisions for a woman is a man.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, who should? I'm saying that. I mean, I'm not whether that's for or against. I mean, I was saying the other day. I mean, it's amazing. Everybody was talking about Harriet Tubman the other day, and I like the Underground Railroad. And I said to somebody, who's going to be the person who's the abortion Harriet Tubman? Where they're going to have the Underground Railway to sneak people.
It'll be me. I've offered many people to go quote unquote camping.
Exactly, but isn't that funny? Where you're gonna actually, since we're rewriting the history books, Harriet Tubman probably was just a nice lady who just really liked taking people on long trips. She used to take people on hiking trips through the South, to the North, because that was where it was. But but since we're rewriting history and stuff like that, maybe we won't even have Harriet Tubman in history books anymore. You never know. But anyway, back to the matter at hand.
Tom says that he's heard that how attractive a woman to find a man is how funny they are, and that's true. You could be an ugly man and be hysterical, and suddenly you're sexy.
Right, but sexy's not good looking.
About not making them feel safe, because women have very few places to feel safe. So, especially in public.
Oh, that's for sure.
Safe and comfortable and relaxing, and humor's a good way of doing that.
Right, I agree. But do you think that that's true? Because sexy to me is not always the same thing as good looking. I mean,
I agree.
Tom has an unfair advantage in the making women laugh department, because all they have to do is look at him. Tom's
sexy and funny.
Oh yeah, that's how I feel about him.
Well, why
cut me off a slice of that Tom action?
I want him so bad.
Oh, you fucking people. Why do you do that to somebody sitting in the thing?
Look, he's a great lad. He's a great lad, but he is unfortunate looking.
I was thinking it's Saturday night. Maybe he's going to put the kids to bed. He's going to, slip
give his wife a little pickle tickle.
Yeah, exactly. Slip into some mood music and a little else, and do what lovers do.
And we'd be nice to him.
And you're belittling the guy.
I wasn't belittling.
Of course I am.
Well, no,
it's like you don't know me at all,
that's
Kevin.
right. We all neg each other. It's how we show affection. So the meaner we are, you know,
the more we care about someone.
That's how Richard and I show affection. We just
well,
are
we all know about
horrible to each other, and
we are absolutely horrible to the point where one of us will unalive ourselves, and then we'll know the other one won.
That's right. That's the goal.
That's the
is
dream.
one of us. That is the ultimate joke. You know, get one of us to unalive ourselves between the two of us.
Smiley face on the gravestone.
That's right. Be like, haha, it was a great.
Yeah,
prank,
got you. What are you looking at, bitch? That's what I want. Is that what you're gonna put on your gravestone, Tom? Whenever she comes and sees it, she's gonna feel guilty about everything. You'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put. If Tom dies before me, I'm gonna record that video he sent me, and I'm gonna put it onto his tombstone and have it playing 24/7. This was the man Tom was.
This is the man Tom was.
Okay, we'll stop. Tom's great.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't want to know.
You haven't seen him? He didn't send you the video?
No, I'm not on that Discord and all that. And remember, I'm old. I have a hard time doing anything that involves me typing.
I'll see if I can forward it to you.
I mean, look at I went to typing class when there were still typewriters.
Wait, what? Hold on. What video are you talking about?
I don't know.
He sent it to you, the one he was going to send to his class. But he had to edit it because it was too camp.
Oh, yeah.
Too camp.
That is Tom Camp. Hey, it's not like we're talking about him behind his back. He is actively listening.
Right.
We love you, Tom.
No.
You're wonderful.
Right. And I'm not saying anything I wouldn't say to his face repeatedly until he cried.
Well, you see, here's the thing. That's another thing I was talking to Sam about, because we were watching, I think, EastEnders today, and it was something about, okay. So, that guy, what's her face? The daughter was going to have sex with that one boy, right? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. Yeah,
Denzel.
Denzel was, yeah, exactly. And so the dad comes in, basically turns him into like a ramrod, or like a battle ram, and like rams him into the wall. And so she goes to the cop shop and dosses him in, or stitches him up for saying he was beating up on this little kid. And he gets mad at her because he's a cop and his own daughter like turned him in, and she can't understand why that's wrong for her to basically go into the police station and tell them that he was beating up her boyfriend, right? Like, okay. And I was saying, they got into the whole thing about you can't put your hands on the neighbor boy or whatever, even if you think he's having sex with your daughter or whatever. And I said to Sam, I said, this is the point where this is where I'm at. When I was a kid, you would have expected, or even when I was 18, if you would have expected somebody's dad to come into the room and see you porking his daughter, that you were going to get the shit beat out of you. Not only were you going to get the shit beat out of you, you were going to get the shit beat out of you, and you were not going to fight back because you knew he had a point. You know what I mean? You were having sex with his daughter in his house. You know what I mean? So you took the beating. And now all of a sudden, now this would be in Britain, and Britain of the 1980s, 70s, early 80s. Now it's like, oh yeah, you can't touch me, you motherfucker. That's the way it is. It's just basically, and at a certain point in time, it went from one end of the spectrum to the other, and it always goes like that, where it's like too far one way to the too far the other way. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay.
There's no middle.
No, it doesn't ever seem like there's any kind of a middle. Like, okay, yeah, you can't throw a guy around a room anymore. I get that. But I mean, to grab him off him and say, hey, get out, don't come back and see my daughter or whatever, instead of like, going through whatever it was. And then having the neighborhood kids' dad show up. Then you're having Kim the influencer, freaking going off on you and the whole thing. You know what I mean? It's just like, it just gets blown out of proportion just because it's like, yeah, I mean, if I walked into a room and saw something like that and I didn't, know what was going on, I'd want them to stop, until at least I assessed what was going on. But anyway.
I am not a fan of that storyline at all. They're both 13. It just.
Oh, so they're both, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't really, because I haven't been watching that for a long time, but 13 is.
Too young.
Well.
Too young for that kind of storyline. And I don't like the way they dress her.
Unless you're in Belfast, and then it's 2 years too late. Because she would have already been pregnant by the time she was 12.
Damn.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't like it. I don't like that story at all. And especially with BBC executives, you know what they're like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is, I mean, I didn't realize they were that young, but I mean, because it seems like at those situations, they bring these kids in. I guess officially they haven't done it, although she's telling people that they have done it. So I hope they just go back to the, obviously leaving it where it's at. Maybe we should slow down for a while. Although, once the cat's out of the bag, it's not happening. But
right.
I mean, that's genuinely, and that's my experience in real life anyway. Not that I have 13. I used to be a teacher. That's what I'm saying. That even sounds worse. I'm saying that if two people that are 13 want to have sex, they're going to have sex.
Yeah, 100%. I have tried to explain that to many of my very Christian friends who are like, no, my kid knows better. Nah, if they want to have sex and they have to go behind a dumpster to have sex, they're gonna go behind a dumpster.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Those days. Yeah.
Well, and the thing about it is, and the thing about it, I mean, that's the other question, Nikki, is that you almost think, okay, well, if I tell you how to protect yourself from an STD or getting pregnant or whatever, am I not abetting it?
Yeah, no. You're absolutely not. No, you're not, because
exactly.
that keeps some, like, the knowledge of what could happen and all of that can actually help them make an informed decision instead of just being ignorant about it and then wind up getting pregnant or something because they didn't have all the information that they needed.
Right. And I agree. I mean, but I do agree with people that they say your family should do it, but you should do it then. I mean, here's the thing about it. I remember my granny, I was like 11 or 12 or something like that. And this was in Northern Ireland. My granny just grabbed a condom one day and a banana and came in, sat down and was like, "We're all right. We're doing this once and I'm showing it to you. And this is it. Right. I'm just showing this to you. This doesn't mean I want you to do it, but I want you to know how to do it. You know what I mean?"
Right.
She put it on, showed me how it was. And she said, "You got any questions about that?" And I'm like, "No, Gran." And she says, "Great. Now I don't have sex for another 3 years." You know what I mean?
My sister is a very conservative Christian, and she taught her boys basically in the means of safe sex and all of that stuff. She did it as, because, of course, they're going to be abstinence first. She just basically taught them, like, hey, when you get married and you have sex, in order to keep yourself from having a baby, this is how you do it. Right. And you need to, make sure that you're both clean because of this, this, and this. So it was kind of still on the, they were still talking about waiting.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of like, when you feel like you're ready, it was, yeah.
But I think that was what I was trying to get at, was it wasn't an encouragement, believe me.
Exactly.
And basically, whenever your granny tells you how to put on a rubber, believe me, that is not one of them things. I mean, just the idea of having that seared into your brain.
No, I understand. I had very
hey, I've got a Woody. Let me put a rubber on it so I can think of my granny.
Yeah, my family was very open and about, we talked about that stuff all the time, and so it was never really a surprising thing to me. But like, I have a family member that had 3 teenagers at one time. Well, the 18-year-old got pregnant, and I was told I couldn't explain to the others what centimeters dilated meant whenever she went into labor. And I was like, these kids are 14 and 15. You wonder why they're getting pregnant, at 18 or whatever. I wasn't even allowed to say labia around the 14-year-old girl.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Like, okay, let me give it to you. This, I mean, like Northern Ireland again, 98% of the people registered say that they're Christian, right? Whether they divide it up in between Protestant or Church of Ireland or Presbyterian or Catholic. I don't care how you want to put it in there, but that's how they do it, right? And there's 12-year-old girls walking around pregnant. You know what I mean? And so the whole idea of literally you got squirted out of a vagina and started going to, church the weekend after. So next time you're in church and you've been in church your whole friggin' life, and that's not stopping somebody from getting up the duff. That's all I'm saying. So as much as you think it's all taken care of, it ain't. And as much as you think that you've got to, I mean, here's the thing about it, and it is a little bit different now because of the fact that everybody's got a tracker on their app, and you know exactly where your kids are all the time, and you can call them all the time and all that other stuff. But the problem with that is I almost think that gives you a false sense of security.
Absolutely, because it doesn't take that long to have sex.
It does.
Especially when you're talking about a teenager, 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It takes 2 minutes.
That's bloody being generous.
Yeah, I was being very generous.
The foreplay.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I had to teach my daughter about that stuff, I'd give it to Gabby. Gabby would definitely be a woman I'd trust with that.
Yeah. Well, all I'm saying is, and then again, it's one of those things where, the idea of, if your child becomes pregnant and you live in one of those states that, won't let you have an abortion or whatever. I mean, why aren't you telling everybody right off the bat that your kid's pregnant? I think, I mean, that should be one of those.
Don't even get me started on that.
No, but I'm just saying that should be one of those things where you're telling the world, listen, little Ellie's pregnant and it's great. It's a fantastic thing that's ever happened. The reason that you keep it quiet is the same reason that everybody would keep it quiet, because you're still deciding whether you're going to ship them out of state yet. and regardless of your position on, I would never do that. That's one thing I would never. Yeah, well, there's lots of things people would never do until they're in the situation. You know what I mean? We've all been there, done that.
Yep.
But that's. But again, this is one of those things. I'm just of the position where if that's the way you want to be, that's fine. Just don't stop other people from doing it.
Especially as a lawmaker who has not even a rudimentary idea of how the female
understanding of medicine. I mean, because these people are saying, okay, I can't give you a DNC because of this thing, so you're bleeding to death.
Yep.
I mean, that's like if they even knew what a DNC is. If I said DNC to a politician, they'd say Democratic National Congressman,
right,
or committee or whatever. I was like, well, how much money does that give me? No, we're talking about.
Whoa! It's 40 minutes into the show. Time flies, Nikki. We should get.
It's okay. We can. We're having a good conversation. You can just edit the title, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, or we can just stop.
No, I think
no.
Good conversation.
Well,
it's an important conversation, right?
That's all I'm saying is, again, it's just one of those things. It's pandering. It's pandering to the people. That's all I'm saying. And they all do it. That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm not saying one's worse than the other or whatever. I mean, I have a personal feeling that one is worse than the other, but that's probably because of my political disposition.
Right.
I would think that if I thought the other way, I would have the other. I mean, because I know people on Facebook, and I look at it and I go, yeah, that guy's totally fucked up half the time, And it's
Right.
always on the time that he doesn't agree exactly with me. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I don't think that person's unreasonable.
Right.
I just think he doesn't agree with me. And I
Right.
can understand why he doesn't agree with me, but that's not my job to figure out why he doesn't agree with me. But my point of the matter is, there's different strokes for different folks, but
Yeah.
don't, you know, don't try to tell me what I or my family can do, because that's exactly whenever you're going to get yourself into trouble, is when you're going to dictate to me about what my wife or my daughter can do. To me, that's like saying you can't own a machine gun, Kevin. And I'm going to be pissed about that. And I'm going to be pissed about the fact that you're going to tell me that I can't do something with their health care. And
Yeah.
I quite frankly, I don't understand why they don't have the same problem. I mean, uh, you know, uh, anyway, we get that.
Because they can afford to send their woman off to go,
Right. Right.
because look at
To the
Herschel
Philippines,
Walker.
if you had to. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like it doesn't matter. They can be like, oh no, I don't believe in abortion. But like on the down low, they're sending their,
Oh, well, yeah. Well, he had to say he didn't agree with it now, but then clearly he did then. And clearly that if although he's Mr. Man and he would never do it, and we all know that he would never, ever, ever do it again, because
sure.
people once they cheat on their spouses learn that is not the way to go,
Right.
and would not repeat that practice at all. But if he ever were unintentionally to fall over and with his dick out and inside a woman and ejaculate, he would still feel the same about them not getting an abortion.
Sure he would.
Yeah,
I believe that.
clearly.
Clearly, I mean, when you listen to his son really believes in his father's convictions.
Oh, his son. Oh, I don't know that much about the kid, but I mean, I mean, that was painful.
Vicious. Like,
Listen
but
to
I
the
get
kid.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I
then,
get
but then on the other hand, I don't understand. I don't understand that. I mean, that confuses things for me too, because of the fact that I'm like, okay, his son is supposedly this big, some sort of conservative influencer, whatever that means, or and he obviously at one point in time was, whether he says he didn't agree with it, and nobody. He makes a statement that nobody in the family agreed with him running, and they all tried to get him to stop doing it. They said, "No, we don't want you to do that," and go from there.
and he should also respect that, because it's not just him being put under intense scrutiny when you run for office. It is your entire family.
Oh yeah, especially nowadays. I mean,
Yeah.
look at it. Like I was reading this thing about this lady in Washoe County. I think that's where Reno is. But this lady in Washoe County who had to quit her job as counting the ballots because like there's some nut in town who's like threatening to kill her and her family.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, it's like at a certain point in time, uh, that's it, right? We've got to the terroristic stage of voting in America,
Right.
where like if you don't count it the way I want you to, it'd be a real shame if you counted them votes wrong. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that is so Northern Ireland. It's not even
Well,
funny.
but also it's also an American tradition. I mean, we've also been doing that as as Americans
Oh yeah,
since
that's
the
true.
get go. I mean, we used to kidnap people, put them in different disguises, like the political figures did, get them
Yeah,
really drunk and threaten their family, and just go, you're going to vote for me."
right. Well, I mean, there is that story of like in Deadwood, whenever they wanted, that Deadwood or Fort Laramie or whatever to become part of South Dakota, and they basically brought in the troops, from like a couple of platoons worth of troops to throw the vote over. You know what I mean?
Right.
For the sheriff of the town or whatever. I mean, so yeah, I mean, uh, I get it, I suppose, but I mean, and the West is different. I mean, I guess that is this. I mean, we used to have, like land barons shooting people on property to get rid of like homesteaders and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it wasn't that long ago, and I guess that's the thing, which is interesting. But it's always an interesting thing about who backs all these different groups of people. And whenever you find out that a lot of these small supposed groups of people that are anti-government are actually backed by these huge corporations,
Yeah.
and not Joe Schmo, the military militia dude, that's just who you get to do all the bad, all the bad stuff. So they go to jail and you're out scot free.
Right.
And that's how that works. But this is the time that we've been going through, and it's slowly building and building and building. Well, so we just have to see. You just don't know. But it's amazing in a lot of ways that it still sort of works. I'm always sort of amazed in a lot of ways that it still sort of works. You know what I mean? But,
sort of.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
operative term here.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Whenever I was teaching, I made dick and a half. You know what I mean? Just absolutely not. But I'm not going to teach your kid for the good of humanity if somebody's going to come in with a gun and threaten to shoot me because your kid has to wear a mask. I'm just not going to fucking do it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that that's just one of those things where in a lot of reasons, this is why we have a shortage of doctors. It's why we have a shortage of nurses. It's why you have a shortage of teachers. It's why we're going to have a shortage of policemen.
Well,
it's because
on top of it is also just the exorbitant price. And just as someone who is considering going into nursing school this next year, the prerequisites are ridiculous.
Right.
There is no reason why you should have to take a libraries study class to be a nurse.
Right.
If we were in such bad need of nurses, you think that they would take someone with a prior medical education like me, and fast track them. But there is no fast track to becoming a registered nurse. They want you to do 2 years of chemistry and statistics and all of this stuff. And yes, math is incredibly important.
Right.
But you shouldn't have to take all of these things that have nothing to do with your profession at all.
Right. But I think what's funny about that is if you're a traveling nurse from another place, like the Philippines or United Kingdom or whatever, and you come here, you just have to basically get certification that you're good enough, you're good to go, and then you're making about 4 times as much as what a resident nurse makes.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. I mean, it's like if I wanted to go somewhere like Florida, which I wouldn't, but anyway, but let's just say if I wanted to go there. But if I wanted to go there and act like a teacher or whatever, on a substitute teacher, I could make more being a substitute teacher than I could being a full-time teacher.
That's sad.
And it's true of nursing too, and it's true of doctors too. And how long is it going to be? And here's the thing, right? If you've just gotten out of the military now in Florida, they'll give you a teaching license to teach a class. I don't know what that has to do with it, but anyway, they will. But so the point of the matter is that it's always a separate thing because in a lot of ways sort of teachers and doctors and nurses or whatever, we're not thought of, even though we're civil servants, right? We're not thought of in the same vein as cops. What I mean?
No, not at all.
Because if we go away, fuck us. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's fine. And it's like, okay, well, certain governments have been shitting on us since the time that they invented shit. But the minute anybody says anything about a cop, boy, you can forget it. It's just like everybody's going to flip the shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
By saying, well, maybe you shouldn't beat on people. You know what I mean? And then you're saying, well, not all cops beat on people. Well, that's true. But not all teachers have sex with their fucking students either.
That's very true.
Or whatever. So, I mean, and yet, so we also all of a sudden start getting tarred with this brush about being weird pedos or whatever. But anyway, but again, that comes down to what your position is and who your heroes are and who they aren't. And I think that in a lot of ways, in the end, that's just semantics. Because I think, as we can see, if somebody's standing in your way, they're the enemy. It doesn't matter what they are, or who they are, or what they do.
Yeah, that's
true. If they're standing in the way of what you want and what you believe in, then that's it. And that's sort of going back to the old idea of, at a certain point in time, you gotta, say, okay, that's it. And, I shouldn't have done that. And that's something I can't do. Apparently 44 days. That's it. 44 days.
44 days.
44 days. I think that what that should do is they should just give everybody, that ever created a crime. What do you want to plead innocent or guilty? Okay, if you plead guilty, we'll give you 44 days. You take it or leave it.
44 days.
44 days and you're right. That's it. Murder somebody, 44 days.
It's just dumb.
Well, but I mean,
just a joke.
Yeah, this is the. I just really think that from the standpoint of that, I mean, it's you can't. Nobody's got the moral high ground anymore, so it's all a joke. You know what I mean? There used to be a moral high ground. At least you could pretend there was one.
Right.
Yeah. And neither isn't so much. You know what I mean?
I think every country is feeling that as well. That's why there's so much civil unrest. Is just everyone's feeling that way.
Well, it's a factor of a couple of different things, and everybody will say, well, we're in this problem where, the world economy has gone into this hyperinflation aspect of it. It's not as bad as it. I mean, let's look at it. It's not as bad as Germany was prior to the income of the Nazi Party, who actually were voted. I mean, interestingly enough, and I'm not linking the two together, but interestingly enough, the Nazi Party primarily was voted in because of inflation was too damn high. The Jewish thing and everything else was just part of it, but there was the inflation. The fact that inflation was too damn high, and we had to get it away from the Weimar democracy and republic. We had to move away from that to, somebody who actually knew how to control things, like the Nazis, was one of the reasons that we voted in the Nazis. But anyway, but I'm just saying that from a lot of standpoint, there's not a whole lot. You've got to get to the point where it slows down, and the only way you're going to slow down is to get rid of the glut of the money that we put into it. I mean, you basically had 2 years worth of time where the government put trillions of dollars, like $5 trillion extra dollars, back into the economy that came out of basically nowhere. That was basically just thought up by the Fed. And at the time, Mitch McConnell said he said, this is going to give us incredible inflation. This is something we shouldn't do. We shouldn't be giving all these people all these PPP loans and all these different things like that. We shouldn't be doing this. This is going to create all these problems. And now it is. And so even though the Republicans were the ones who said we shouldn't do it, but we're also the ones who introduced the thing to put it in. Now it's the Democrats' fault that we're actually in the shit. You know what I mean? But that's how it works. That's how it works. And we all have really short memories. But if you go back to look at the last time the PPP loan was, the main reason that Mitch McConnell said, I only want to give people $600 for this last thing. This last thing was because he said that's going to create incredible amount of inflation that we don't know how we're going to fix. And you can go back and look at it, and what he said was right, and he was correct. And now it's the Democrats' fault because they're the ones getting elected. They're the ones coming to the time of the election. But that's how it is. I mean, you wouldn't get elected if you told the truth. You know,
right.
I get that. What, is there anybody saying anything in the chat, Richard? Like, why is Kevin such a blowhard? Why doesn't he shut up?
No, Gabby's talking to somebody else currently, or else we would be having that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just Tom and Gabby talking. Oh, someone apart from SoFlo, Rob Noxious podcast. Marriage is great if you find the right person. Good luck. One man, one woman seems a bit unrealistic. Once again, it isn't for everyone. Huh. Well, welcome, Rob Noxious.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think that, you know, it's an interesting concept looking about monogamy. You know what I mean? I think back in the day, whenever you used to think of a monogamous relationship between like a caveman and a cave woman or whatever, you were living till the time you were 25. So, I mean, even if I knew Nikki for 25 years, I think she'd be fairly tolerable. I mean, I could stay with her for that period of time.
Right, that's true.
Yeah. But if I was getting out some, I mean, let's face it, if she's getting much older and then going through the change in the menopause, I mean, I'm sure she's out of control crazy.
Wow, rude. Rude as hell.
I hope you took that as a joke because it was.
Yeah, I did. It
all
is
right,
totally
all
a joke. As a woman who had a hysterectomy 2 years ago, I can assure you I've got the hot flashes, but I'm not crazy yet.
No.
Or crazier yet. I haven't gotten Okay, fine.
Well, the thing about
that, Mr. Sir?
No, I agree. I'm thinking I agree with Nikki, and here's why. Because like if I act like an asshole, a lot of times, if people know I'm a type 1 diabetic, you know, and they'll say, well, he's just acting like an asshole because he's got low blood sugar or high blood sugar. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes I just am an asshole. And I don't like it whenever somebody associates the fact that I'm doing something in my behavior because of one thing or another thing. You know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, that's why I was saying, wait a second, Richard, what do you think? Do you think that I've gotten crazier over the past few years?
What do you think, Richard?
I think you're perfectly sane, and I enjoy your company a great deal.
Aw, thank you.
That's nice. Richard has gotten a lot more diplomatic and
that's because of me.
Yeah, he really is. I think he's warming
up. I'm working on him just a little bit.
I don't know. I'd look. What you need to do is you need to get a group of girls from Carlisle to start listening to the podcast, and they'd be like, "Oh, I like Richard. He's nice. He seems very nice." And
then they meet him in real life, and they're like, "Why?"
And he's probably got big, huge forearms because he rows.
That's right. That's all we care about.
That's not their only reason.
Yeah, it's mostly from all the masturbation.
Yeah.
So much masturbation. But yeah, Rob maybe some good points. May have met your match.
You just cut out really bad. That was
great. Yeah, we didn't really get any of that, Mitt.
I loved it. Said the Rob Noxious podcast is making some good points in the chat.
Gabby, Rob making some good points in the chat.
And Gabby might have a match.
You could always have Rob Noxious on as a guest, and we could see whether we could handle it. There's no guarantees whenever you got somebody in your chat, and then you ask them on, and then sometimes it can be the most brilliant thing ever, or
or they're crazy,
or like a 15-second line.
Or you get stuck with Kevin.
Or a 15-minute length of expletives. I mean, I don't do the expletives all the time.
I do.
I know.
That's me.
Right.
Well, you did it again, Nikki. You got out of talking about your topic for the second week in a row.
Hell yeah. This isn't my fault, though.
But next week you're definitely going to have to take the lead.
I got it.
Okay.
I had it this week, so
we'll see.
Yeah, I know she was totally under control. I mean, if she wants to wait, if she wanted to wait, we would have curtailed it if she would have liked.
Yeah,
We
and I
both
was
would have.
fine with either.
Yeah.
That's a good point, Gary. It is not cheating that destroys relationships. It is
It's
lying.
lying about it. Yeah.
If you've got a solid enough relationship, you should be able to sleep with whoever you want. Well, it's true. As long as you're honest about it.
Well, I think if you're honest about, I think that if you were honest about it and say I can't deal with it. I mean, here's the thing. I've been in a relationship where maybe somebody's asked me that, and I said I can't deal with it. It would be better off if I wasn't in a relationship with you because I can't deal with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
right. I mean, that's the biggest thing they're going to lie about.
Yeah, that's you being honest, though. Saying that you can't deal with that.
Yeah. I mean, I have no problem, lining up, like using it one at a time. I'm a serial monogamist, but I can't be one, like I couldn't double dip it or something, I just not. It's not for me. It's not for me. It's not for me. I'm not everybody. It's just not for me.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd think about it. And I'd want to be in a relationship where I could, but I don't know if I would either.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to sit with my wife in a pub and go, "Oh, she's all right. I'd do her, and her to be all right. Oh yeah, and he's all right. I'd do him." But then we go home with each other, and maybe one of them,
or both.
Well, see, now, yeah, I've been in a pub where it's been like, yeah, that's a bit of all right, and vice versa. But I mean, that's about as far as it goes. It's never gone to the part where it's like, if I if I would, could you? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I've never gotten that. I don't have the balls for that. There's lots of things I've been brave enough to do in my life around violence, but not around sex. Isn't that funny?
That's crazy.
That's a weird concept. That's a very strange concept to a lot of people.
So you've ran into battle, shot people,
done
all sorts.
Right. But never had a three-way.
Yeah, but never had a three-way.
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
Sad
you've hardly lived. If you're here next week, Rob Noxious, of course you can come up, but we're wrapping things up now. We've reached the end.
Right. Well, that's brilliant. I think it's great. It's next weekend. When's Thanksgiving? When's not Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving. And in a month.
When's Samhain? When's the
Halloween's a week on Monday.
I really wonder how big the Halloween is now that we've all been convinced that the price of the price of candy is probably out of control. I can barely afford to drive the half a mile to go to the shop and get candy.
Aww.
Because it's literally now $97 a gallon for me to go anywhere.
Wow. Yep.
I'm just buying it by the barrel now and refining it in my own backyard.
Yeah, doing it yourself.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's like, homebrew, like home refined oil.
Yeah, so good.
I think there's a market for that.
Absolutely.
Or do you think that there probably are a lot of people that are going around like stealing oil from like the McDonald's and using that? I mean, do you think that people are like in fights behind the McDonald's trying to steal the fry oil at this point in time?
No, but it's gonna get there. What's gonna suck is when everybody's too poor to make it to work.
I still think that I want to be part of the fry oil mafia. I want to be the guy who's a big player for that in Seattle. You want some fry oil? You talk to me.
Come into my house, you show me no respect.
like the Road Warrior. I saw 2 weeks ago. I saw a tanker that's big enough to hold that fry oil. You want to get out of here? You talk to me.
And now we're going Mad Max with it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So that'll wrap us up this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many, where we will be discussing Halloween probably and some of Nikki's stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm going to redo the title of this one.
Yeah, we're gonna discuss Nikki's business.
I've got so much of it to discuss, y'all.
Yeah.
Let me just drop the tea.
Do you have a lot of business downstairs, or is a lot of it upstairs business, or is it downstairs business?
Wait a second.
Well, you moved, didn't you, in the last month or something, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Is it bigger house?
Yes, much bigger.
Oh, that's good.
Dude, it was so bad. I used to like walk into the front door and I could just fall to the left and my bed was right there.
Right.
I was sleeping in the living room. That's how small the house was I was in before. So now there's room for my parents. You know, what every man wishes would happen to him. That, you know, I'm sure my husband is excited.
You know what? It's not necessarily bad. If your parents are cool about it,
so excited.
I think, you know, in a lot of ways, I mean, like Irish families, basically up until about maybe 40 years ago, sometimes they had multi-generations in the house, you know, and that wasn't that weird. You know, it's not necessarily a weird thing. But I always find it actually aids in a lot of things. But everybody has to be cool about it. You know what I mean? Everybody can't be swinging their dicks around thinking they're in charge.
Like they're in Carlisle.
Yeah, the Carlisle.
Bringing it around in a big circle.
Yeah, that's it. You know what? I think you need to go down and get a patch that says CDSA, the Carlisle Dick Swingers Association.
It's already copyrighted, so no, I can't do that. That'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. It is good night from me, and it is good night from them. Good night.
Good night.
Swing some dicks.